This is Absolutely, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I'm hanging out here in LA with Absolutely, and I'm so excited. Like, your set, I didn't know what to expect, and your voice really put me in a new mode of excitement for you, just because I feel like your vocals live are so much better.
Really?
And it was incredible. So I'm super excited to have caught that show. I want to talk about being able to now perform these songs live to this new audience for you.
Well, it is a little bit scary sometimes because I'm a bit shy, I'm a bit introverted, and I created all those songs by myself pretty much.
Right.
And now being on stage in front of hundreds of people is nerve-wracking, but it's also freeing at the same time.
Right, absolutely. You know? During this experience, what have you learned about every night that you go out on a stage? It's a different stage, a different place, different audience. What has that taught you as far as being a better performer and better vocalist at the same time?
It's taught me that it doesn't really matter as much as I think it does, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to really remember it that much unless I do something insane on the stage or I do an amazing performance, but it doesn't really matter as much as I think it does. And also warm up correctly is important. And yeah, I've just been learning different things about myself every show.
Yeah,
it's been good. Yeah.
Now, I love that you mentioned warming up, and on stage you said you didn't get to warm up, or you didn't warm up, but you how much more amazing are you going to sound after you warm up? I was shocked. I was what is she talking about?
Thanks. I think it's also an internal thing. I can feel it in my voice if I don't warm up correctly.
Right.
It's straining a little bit. But I also need to learn how to warm up correctly because I don't know how to do that. So sometimes it leaves me feeling more tired. Need to just lock into that.
Yeah. How does that impact your performance, especially when you're on tour, kind of figuring out which songs, which tracks to put in what order, just because there's so many insane vocal ranges that you go throughout this album. So when you pick and choose your set list, how do you go about as far as making sure that you're also okay during that whole time you're on stage?
I mean, it's been a bit of a trial and error. We started off with the almost completely different set list, and then we removed one song, which is Higher, and then we switched some songs around just to make sure it's a gradual getting better with every song, you know?
Nice. It's uphill every single time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in and talk about Cerebrum, because this album is, it's incredible that you get to debut now, and you also get to debut through Epic Records, which is awesome. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
So take me into the studio and working on this album. What really kickstarted that writing process? Did you go into the studio with your producer knowing that you were working on this record, or were you just going in there to write and then this record just basically created itself?
Yeah. One of my friends introduced me to Dave Hamlin, who produced my album, and working with him was when I was wow, this is me. You know, it felt like the most me music that I'd ever made. And then we just kept creating together, and then after a few times of working, we collected some songs, and we said, why don't we just make it an album?
Nice.
You know, it was never really nothing was structured in our process. It was always just flowing, no overthinking,
no pressure.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And when you come into this, you were a songwriter first, so going from songwriting for other people to now songwriting for yourself, do you feel that has an impact on what kind of topics you're going to talk about, how vulnerable you're going to get, what kind of vocal ranges you're going to do, or did that not matter at all for you?
Well, I feel like I learned a lot from doing that. I learned how to write a great pop song.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is now combined with my music taste, which is like ethereal, like Enya and Bjork and that kind of stuff, but also infused with my pop writing that I've done for other artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Like, I feel like sometimes when artists go from songwriters to being the artist themselves, like, I feel like that aspect of now they're listening to your personal experiences or your your stories. Like, I feel like that's pretty scary when you go into it, but it's cool that you're like, you just feel normal, natural with it.
I mean, sometimes
to a certain extent, I guess,
because I don't want to like snitch on myself.
Yeah.
You know? Also, I'm 19 and I don't want my parents to hear everything that's going on in my life all the time. But it's really freeing to be able to talk about yourself, but also it's fun to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and like just play a character a little bit when you're writing.
Talk to me more about the tracks on Cerebrum. Like, what is it about these songs that you felt like made it a cohesive body of work?
I'm not sure. I feel like everything was just so natural. It just came really natural, and the songs that didn't make it just didn't fit in the world. I feel like every song fits together nicely, even though they're all like from different worlds. They're still in the same universe, you know? But yeah, I feel like I had an individual connection with each of the songs, and it just made sense together, you know?
It just drives me bonkers, like how you just sound so comfortable with whatever vocal tone, vocal range you put out there. Do you have like that comfort level range that you mainly go to when you're when you're creating music, or when you first hit the vocal booth?
It depends. If I'm in a booth, I'll just sing whatever. If I'm like in a room and there's no booth and it's just like people sitting around, then I'll be a bit more timid and stick to like, you know, what I can do best. the mid-range vocals. But no, I like to play around with different pitches and experiment for sure.
When working with Dave, how did he allow you to step out of comfort zone, but at the same time feel comfortable during this entire process?
Well, he's like somebody who creates with no boundaries, and that's what I like to do too. I don't like to put myself in a box. And I feel like a lot of producers and musicians nowadays, they love to go back into the past and sample things, whereas Dave is like going into the future and pulling things from 3040.
That's a cool way to say it.
But and I'm trying to like make something new, and Dave really just brings that out of me. I'm able to like go to new places.
In saying that, would you say that there was a lot of sound design in this album that you guys basically created from things that are not normally, like, not necessarily instruments, just like getting creative with sound design?
For sure. I mean, I love to use my voice as an instrument. I record myself a lot, and I've been playing around with like different plugins and like delays and stuff to create new patterns and sounds, and I feel like that's incorporated a lot in the album, and album 2 even more of that. When
it comes to the tracks, when you look back at this experience in the studio, like, was there which song would you say was like the biggest challenge for you, whether it was like vocally or in the writing process, and why?
Maybe Glass. Well, all of them came like really naturally. But Glass, we'd already recorded the song, and then we had to revisit it because the lyrics weren't finished. But it's hard for me to go back to songs when I've already written them. I don't know why.
It's hard to go back to them to listen to them, or hard to go back and like finalize them?
To go back and rewrite things.
Okay.
I don't know. I think maybe because I listen to them too much, and then I'm like stuck on the old. It's called demoitis.
That's true. I feel like that's hard for any artist too. Like when you've been listening to music for so long and then right before that release, like something changes or like
Yeah,
you experience a live show and it's like, oh, you know what? I should change this vocal tone to this or like,
exactly.
yeah, here's a chant for the crowd.
Facts.
What was one of your like your favorite moments in the studio during the process of this album?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like I'm so bad at like going back into my memories.
You really are in the future. That's dope.
I am in the future. I am. I don't know. I feel like just the whole process was just really fun, and creating with Dave was just the first time that I knew who I was as an artist.
That's really cool.
Yeah, like discovering that I think is just the most beautiful moment to me.
Was it a particular lyric or song that you were working on that allowed you to discover yourself during this process?
I think just the whole project
Just
itself.
the experience, yeah.
Yeah, because it's all like a new sound, and I just learned so much from myself about while creating that.
I feel like you're in this like sweet spot with your voice, but at the same time, it's probably a scary spot because you have so many different vocal ranges that you can hit. And you might want to tackle all of them in every single song and track that you do. How did you learn to control your voice the way that you do? And how did you learn how to bring it into certain pockets and certain moments of songs?
I think it's just practice, really. I mean, in the beginning, I had vocal lessons for maybe a couple years. And then that, like, a lot of time alone.
Yeah.
Just me and the microphone trying to figure it out. And I was like practicing a lot, like what sounds good, how to fit my voice on this track. Also writing for other artists, you have to like manipulate your voice a little bit to sound more like them. And I'm really good at like also impersonating different voices. So yeah, just like bringing new characters out in each song.
Yeah. I love that you're now in the spotlight with the signing, with the performance, with the album, with the tour, but also you have a song like MIA where it's like totally against all of that. Talk to me about that writing process of the song, and what is it? I mean, how did this really come about for you? Like, did you actively come in with that idea of like, this is kind of how I feel and what I want to talk about?
Most of the time I'll have something like deep within me, and then I will just get on the mic and it will just flow out.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to think about it. Sometimes I'll have a concept or something that I know I need to just get off my chest. But in this case, I was in my home studio. Dave sent me a track and I just sat at the mic and I got shays on my face. It just kind of fell out, really. I didn't overthink it, and the lyrics came with it.
It must be cool, like how just music just happens. It just flows whenever. You just have to be ready to accept it, right?
It's true. It's really beautiful. I'm very grateful to have that.
Was there a song on this album that you felt happened that way, where it was just like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand this. Like, this doesn't make sense, but yet you still listen to it just happening or letting it create itself?
Patterns, I think. Because it's an abstract song. It doesn't have like a typical structure to it. But I just was flowing and it just felt so fun, and like the lyrics are like really random, but it makes sense. When
you talk about a song like that and there's no real structure to it, there's no signature to it, how does that impact your vocals?
I'm not sure really.
You just still flow
I
with
just flow, yeah. I think it's more exciting when there's no real structure. Because it's something different, and then it brings something new from me too.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that like you were saying something along the lines of like you're not much of a talker on stage. And I'm the same exact way. I have heavy social anxiety until this camera is rolling and we're having a conversation like this.
That's amazing.
So for you, like, what is it that really got you to like, first of all, listen to yourself and be like, oh, I'm a performer, I'm gonna perform, even though it's nerve-wracking? And how different is it when you're actually doing it?
Well, I feel like I never really came to terms with like the performing side of it.
Yeah.
I was always just so comfortable being like behind the scenes and yeah, being in my own world. But I realized like I can't just hide away forever if this is what I want to do.
Right.
And then yeah, my sister said, I want you to come on tour, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like so nervous. Every day I was laying up like late at night, like no tour. But now like I finished the first half of tour
Yeah.
and it was amazing. So I know like this is what I'm meant to do now.
Yeah.
You know?
And I love that your first experience was like pretty much a family affair. Like
Yeah.
that's really awesome. How do you feel that that support really helped you to be able to step out on those stages every night?
It's definitely so necessary. Also to have like my sister there who's been through everything that I'm going through. It's amazing. And my parents are here too, which is really cute. Yeah, and it's good to just have people who you know are there for you,
Right.
and not to, you know. But yeah, it's great, and like to have my family there to pray with me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's very necessary.
That's awesome. Now to close this off, Cerebrum is out now. During this entire process, what was the biggest challenge that you felt you faced in order to either start writing, create, or finalize this album?
I think this is actually really funny, but I really was so scared to do interviews. Like I hate talking. I really do, but I'm here now.
I'm glad you're surviving.
Yeah, and I've just surrendered to it.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad. Like this is nice, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, that was like one part that I was like, I can't do that, but
Yeah.
I just let it happen, and now here we are.
That's funny how everything around being an artist was what affected you most and not the creative process.
Yeah, definitely not. I like the creative process is the best part.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's awesome. Well, absolutely. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you.
You guys be sure to check out Absolutely. The US leg just ended, and then European tour follows, right? And then the new album Cerebrum is out now. So thanks for watching here on Front Row Live.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.